couple, and the Metropolitan Police has told us that they are now investigating. Our crime correspondent Martin Brunt caught up with one of the people who'd been targeting the McCanns on Twitter using the identity Sweepy Face.
Can we talk to you about your Twitter handle and your attacks on the McCanns?
No.
Why are you attacking them so regularly?
Look, I'm just going out with a friend, okay?
But why are you using your Twitter account to attack the McCanns?
I'm entitled to do that.
You know, you've been reported to the police, to Scotland Yard. They're considering a whole file of Twitter accounts and what supporters say is a campaign of abuse against the McCanns.
Okay, but I'm going out.
Well, let's talk now to Professor Lis Howell, who's Director of Broadcasting at City University, London. She joins me now from our central London studio. Lis Howell, thanks for talking to us. We understand then that the police are considering this dossier of evidence, this whole file of abuse that's been directed at Madeleine McCann's parents. Does it surprise you to hear of that kind of level of abuse that they've been receiving?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. There's a great deal of evidence that people who get into the public eye do get trolled. There's particular evidence that women who get into the public eye get trolled. Now, I'm not saying that men don't also suffer this awful victimisation, but there is a lot of evidence that women are trolled, particularly, especially if they're visible by photograph or video, and that particularly seems to enrage people. What we've got to understand, I suppose, is that women haven't had the vote in this country for 100 years yet. So women coming into the public eye in this way is almost a novelty, set against the great wastes of time. And so, because it's quite new, people are still expecting women to act in traditional ways, many women. And when a woman is seen as not acting in a traditional way, then she can be victimised in this way, particularly if she's very visible.
So what you're saying is there's a whole group of people out there who expect a lot of women to be relatively silent. Is that what you're saying? It seems to be women who particularly are standing up for equality that attract abuse.
Well, I wouldn't say that necessarily, because I wouldn't say that Kate McCann is seen in that way. But when women get a sort of public sympathy or they're very visible in some way, it seems to set off a reaction, which is that they should get back in their box. There's been some very interesting evidence from the United States about women being put in leadership roles where they've actually performed extremely well as men, but they've been more disliked. And so there is, I think, a traditional feeling that women should not get up themselves. And in fact, I sent out questionnaires to many women who had attempted to be on television as experts and taken part in expert women training. And the overwhelming demonstration from them in their survey reports was that they were very nervous about being thought to be up themselves or pushing themselves or in some way making a scene that attracted attention to themselves. And this does seem to set off a psychological reaction in a certain type of person, male and female, who really doesn't like to see a woman in the public eye.
And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about something you said just a moment ago, that the fact that if they had a photograph or a video of themselves, that seemed to provoke people more. Why is that?
I don't know why that is. I don't have a great deal of hard evidence for that, but there does seem to be some evidence that when the women can be seen, it makes it worse, particularly if they can be seen to have an image which is contradictory to what they're doing. So, for example, if they're putting themselves up as a campaigner or in some way an activist or a member of the intelligentsia even, but they look as if they shouldn't, if they look doll-like or small or blonde or plump or whatever, it seems to enrage the trollers more. It's the disparity between what they think a woman should be like and what a woman actually is like.
And to what extent are there laws to protect those people who receive this abuse? I mean, in many cases, presumably a lot of the comments aren't actually criminal at all. They may be offensive to some people, but it's just freedom of speech and just a fair comment.
This is a really difficult one because there are laws to stop abuse of various types being publicly disseminated. But on the other hand, an awful lot of this stuff it's just rude and revolting and horrible. It's not necessarily criminal. I myself went on the Today programme and received an absolutely horrible email about 2 years ago. And then you think these are people listening to the Today programme. I'm not saying that people who listen to the Today programme are any better than anyone else, but I mean, it's all sorts of levels of society is guilty of this sort of picking on people, particularly women who are seen to be pushing themselves in some way. I don't think you can have laws against rudeness, really, and perhaps growing a thick skin is part of it, but it is very, very unpleasant. And for somebody like Kate McCann, it's particularly sad because the notoriety that she achieved was not because of anything she had done. And when you get into that media circus and your picture's everywhere and it can't be helped, and you're not necessarily causing it, it's the media machine that's causing it, it does seem particularly cruel that you get trolled in this way. And you know, to lose a child in any circumstance is absolutely dreadful, and then to face this as well, it just seemed so, so wrong.
Do you think that part of this phenomenon is the fact that many of these social media websites are very new to us? People are still learning how to deal with them, and in many cases people are expressing themselves anonymously in a way that they would never do face-to-face, and that could change and evolve over time as a kind of education about the system evolves.
It's my belief that it will evolve in two ways. I think the law will evolve in some way, and I don't know in what way, to deal with this. And I also think that technology may well evolve in some way to deal with it. At the moment, it's a free-for-all, and you have to accept these terrible things happen. You know, you open your email, you don't know it's going to be some vile communication from some vile person. But perhaps in time we will be able to deal with it. There is also an education element to it. I mean, if people are outed, if you like, if the trollers are outed, and we realise that these people are often, you know, look like the people next door, but they're behaving in this horrible way, then maybe there will be a sort of backlash which will stop them doing it. When the trollers find that they're as loathed as the people they troll, it will change.
Well, Lis Howell, it's really interesting to hear your views today. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us. Let's get more now on the announcement